Today will be a day to remember for the rest of your life. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is excited to present the heart of a Hall of Famer program connected by Extreme Networks. With over 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 47 states and countries all over the world, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans important life values like commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence.
But you have to make right decisions even when nobody's watching you.
Well, respect is not just given out. It's not handed out like a brochure. It's earned.
Today, you are presented with an opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more important than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. They didn't roll out the bed great. They put the work in, on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, in their communities. They made themselves a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Your feet can't take you where your mind's never been.
Because you can make it, but it's just gonna take a little hard work and some effort and the drive and determination.
And today, you will learn you can do the same thing they did. You don't have to have a gold jacket or a bronze bust to make a difference in the lives of others. It's your decision whether you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
If attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching?
It's integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you.
Commitment to excellence. We can all aspire to be the best.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks.
When I think about this award and how great this award is, I realize, and Coach Schuler, you did give away my speech. Believe me, I did not get here by myself. I had a lot of help along the way. And to achieve this great award is just unbelievable. It's something that I never ever thought about or ever dreamed about. Coming into the National Football League, I really came in there just hoping to be on a football team, then hoping to stay around for a little while. But things worked out as they did, and like I said, I did, and some things, pretty good things happened for me in the National Football League. And again, I just thank God for them. And also, right now, as far as my work ethics and things like that, it happened to become the person that I am today.
All right, with that, I'd like to welcome everybody to Dwyer High School here in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, for our latest installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks. Today, featuring our Hall of Famer, Mr. Dwight Stephenson. Everybody give him a round of applause. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education Manager at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I'm going to be moderating the session today. Our mission at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. The values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty. And I'm excited, and hopefully all of our students here today, all of the great students we have connected in via Zoom, are excited to hear how these values, along with so many other things, impacted Mr. Stephenson's life, both on and off the field. Before we do get started, some first big thank yous we like to pass out. First and foremost, our great partners at Extreme Networks. Thank you so much for everything you do for us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This program truly could not take place without your impact and your support. So thank you for everything you do for us at the Hall of Fame, as well as schools all over the country. Secondly, all of our teachers, administrators, educators, principals, whoever it might be that either tuned into the program today, shared us with their students, and especially all the great staff here at Dwyer High School. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a small part of your students' learning experience this year. And then lastly, students, thank you so much. You know, this program cannot take place without the students today. They're the ones asking the questions. Nobody wants to hear me talk the entire time. All of the students, they're going to be the ones asking questions today, and I'm excited to hear those questions, and I hope, Mr. Stephenson, you are as well.
I am.
So enough of me talking. Without further ado, Mr. Stephenson, any opening remarks before we get rolling?
Yeah, again, happy to be here. I congratulate and appreciate you all being here. You could be doing a lot of other things, but you're here today
doing things I feel that help to better yourselves. And hopefully I can say something to inspire you to, to keep on down that road and, encourage other people too, to try to be the best that they could be.
So first and foremost, let's start off those 5 values: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, honesty. Out of those 5, is there one that you felt impacted your career the most? Or is it hard to kind of pick one when they all kind of work together to make you the best athlete or person you can be?
I think the last way you summed it up, all of them together kind of work together to make me the person that I am. I'll pick out one, and I'll talk about commitment. Commitment is just something that's very, very important to me. And my parents taught me at a very young age to be committed. And if you start a job, finish the job. If you're going to do the job, do the best job that you can do, and that sort of thing. It didn't have to necessarily be get first place or something, but if you do the best that you can do, that commitment right there will help take you a long, long ways and stuff. So, but I think all of them together kind of work together to make me the person that I am. The sacrifices and stuff that you have to make, I mean, it was second nature to me. I didn't have a problem, and I still don't have a problem in making sacrifices and stuff, because I look at the long range, I look at the goals and stuff that I'm trying to accomplish. So all of them together kind of make me the person that I am.
Now, how did those values not only impact your football career? Because a lot of these things we talked about today, obviously you can learn from the game of football.
Sure.
But more importantly, you can apply those to your everyday life. How did you take the values the game of football taught you to become a great father, son, member of your community, and now a great business owner after your career was over?
I mean, the same things to help me become to become a decent football player are the same kind of things that help me become, like I said, a great father, a good businessman, a great husband, all those certain things right there. I mean, being committed, again, you have to be committed. You have to be dedicated. You have to make the sacrifices and stuff. And you have to do that no matter what you're doing, whether you're playing sports, or like I'm doing now, I'm in business. I mean, those things, you have to make the same type of commitments and sacrifices in order to do well at it. And I didn't look at it as, I think it's another thing is you have to enjoy it. You don't look at it as something bad. I mean, the hard work and stuff, you have to enjoy it. You have the sacrifices, you have to enjoy it. The commitments, you have to enjoy it and stuff. And you'll be able to get there.
Now, throughout the program today, the point of this is to hear all the great questions that our students have today. So I'm going to be calling on some students here in front of me in Florida. We've got a bunch of great schools connected in. We're going to be going out to them, live to their school, to hear those questions. And then we also are live streaming this on Facebook. So if you're watching us on Facebook and you've got a question, throw that in the comment section. And if you're watching us on Zoom and aren't interactive and you have a question, go ahead and put that in the chat function there. We've got a lot of great people back at the Hall of Fame watching that chat to see if we have any great questions pop up there. You guys are also going to get a look inside the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is pretty special. We'll have Nathan Martin, the Youth and Education Coordinator, out in the museum. He's going to let me know when he's ready to go, and we'll be out there, show you a little bit inside our great Hall of Fame museum there in Canton, Ohio. But without further ado, I think we should start with the students right here in front of us, right?
Sure, that'd be
great. All right, anybody got a question for Mr. Stephenson right here? All right, go ahead. At top, go ahead and state your name, your grade, and then your question. So again, his question was, for everyone that couldn't hear it, how was it being coached by maybe arguably the greatest college football coach and the greatest NFL coach of all time, in Bear Bryant and Don Shula? I
was very, very fortunate to have coach. I had some of the greatest coaches that anyone could ask for and stuff. Playing for Coach Paul Bear Bryant at the University of Alabama, he taught me things that I still carry with me today. Stuff. He taught me how to go through a tough time, and because we have some tough practices out there when things didn't go well for me and I couldn't go out there and quit. You have to play through those times. You have to work at getting better and stuff. You have to, he taught me things that I still carry with me today. And then when I came down here and I was playing for Coach Shula, similar things. I mean, Coach Bryant was dealing with more like 18 to 22-year-olds, boys, young men, and Coach Shula here with the Dolphins, he was dealing with more grown men, but he wanted the type of people that, he could count on. So him and Coach Bryant, I felt were very, very, very similar, very organized, committed. I mean, they were guys that they made the sacrifice, and they wanted people around them, good people around them and stuff. So I was very fortunate to play for Coach Bryant as well as Coach Schuler.
So looking at throughout your career, obviously, like you said, two great coaches. How did, obviously first thing that comes to mind, great football minds, taught you the game well, but was there anything you took from those coaches that you used off the field? And how important is it for students, even in high school, college, and even the pros, kind of have that coach or have that mentor that they look up to?
Oh, yeah. And that's what I mean. I mean, they took the things that I learned from Coach Schuler as well as Coach Bryant. I mean, I carry them with me today. I mean, being organized, be willing to make the sacrifices, being a person that people can count on and stuff. They know that if they ask Dwight Stephenson to do something, if I give them my word, that they can count on it. And I learned that from Coach Schuler as well as Coach Bryant, that I could count on those guys. If they said that they were going to do something, it was pretty much done.
All right, we're going to go out to our schools now. Our first school we're going to go to is Maple Heights, back home, my home, back in Ohio for our first question. So all of our students there at Maple Heights, go ahead and unmute your microphone, come up to the mic, state your name, and then go ahead and ask your question for Mr. Stephenson.
I'm Kiara, and here's my question. What are some examples of times that you've had to persevere through adversity?
So persevering through adversity, sometimes in your career where that had to happen.
Right. I'll tell you, when I first came to the Dolphins back in 1980, I mean, I came from, played at the University of Alabama, and that's where we ran the football. We ran the football. If we had 60 plays during a game, we ran the football like 55 times. We didn't throw the football much at all and stuff.
Game changed a little bit.
Right. So when I came down to Miami, passing was a part of pro football. And I didn't know how to pass protect at all. And it was a tough time for me. I mean, I was going out there, I was getting beat. And you talking about getting beat. I mean, so for someone that hates to get beat, I mean, it was a tough time for me. But I didn't. I mean, I knew I couldn't quit. And I had to make the adjustment and stuff. And eventually, one of my teammates, again, Larry Little, he pulled me to the side. And because he told me, he said, Dwight, look here. If a guy goes away from you, pass protection, another guy is going to come to you. Because I would chase that guy, and that would just mess up our pass protection. So that was a tough time. You had to be able to pass protect in the National Football League on the pro level. And so I never gave up. And eventually I took the advice of Larry, and I kept on working at it. But I worked my way through that, and I was able to become what I considered myself. I thought was a pretty good pass protector and stuff. So that was one of the ways at overcoming adversity. I got some help from some of my teammates, and I just hung in there and continued to work at it and try to be the best player I could be.
Say it turned out pretty well. You got a pretty nice looking jacket on there.
You got it.
All right, our next question, we're going to go to Harvey Elementary School, a participant in a majority of our programs all the way out on the West Coast in California. So folks there at Carl Harvey Elementary, go ahead and unmute your microphone, step up, state your name, and then go ahead and ask your question for us today.
First off, Mr. Stephenson, absolute honor to meet you today. And you know what? Without you, the Dolphins wouldn't have had that perfect season, sir. So right on.
Thank you.
Gabriel, one of our students, who's got a question for you.
Who were your heroes growing up?
Oh, my heroes growing up. Like so many guys back then, the guy that I really admired and was Muhammad Ali. He was a guy that was, he was the greatest at what he did. People loved him. And I had also heard about the way that he worked, and his approach to things was that, he was a worker. He would work at it and try to be the best player, best boxer that he could be. So Muhammad Ali, I liked what he stood for. He cared about people. He made the sacrifices. So Muhammad Ali was the guy that was my biggest hero back then.
You look back on your career, coming from Alabama, playing for Bear Bryant,
right,
getting to the Dolphins, Don Shula, around a lot of big names, and you kind of expect you kind of knew what the role was going to be, being under these great coaches. But did you have a welcome to the NFL moment, that moment of shock where you're like, all right, I'm here now. This is the big leagues. Was there a moment for you, whether it was in practice, going up against a guy maybe that was a football hero of yours or someone you idolized, or maybe even a fellow Hall of Famer now?
You know, when you come up and I'm sitting at the lunch table there, and I'm sitting across the table from guys like Larry Little and Vern Denherter and Mark Denard and all the guys that were playing for the Miami Dolphins at the time. And I had seen them on TV, and now I'm sitting at the table and having lunch with them. I thought that was pretty interesting. But now, when we go out there on the field, it's a different story. Everybody has to play and work for their job. Nobody wasn't given that they were already on the team. So we go out there on the field, and it was a different story. Everybody worked hard, and they were trying to compete and try to win. And so I had to learn that, you know, hey, we like one another off the field, but on the field, you know, we weren't necessarily the best friends, but we were doing what we could to try to get a job.
Now, get into the season. You're lining up your rookie year. Was there a time you sat back in your stance and looked up and there was insert a name of a player that you're like, all right, today's going to be a tough day?
You know, I guess, right. One time we were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the game was already pretty much under control and stuff, where the Dolphins, we had a big enough lead, and then they swapped me and they put me in the game, and they took Larry Little out or took another offensive lineman out. So I was going up against Mean Joe Greene, and this was my Super Bowl for me. I mean, it was only like 4 or 5 plays, but I was coming off the ball as hard as I could, and playing against Joe Greene, which everybody knows who Joe Greene was, and probably the best defensive lineman, one of the best defensive linemen to ever play the game and stuff. So, but that's kind of my moment when I'm like, I'm in the big league now, I guess I felt.
Very cool. I assume he was a lot of those moments for people in your shoes getting to play offensive line.
Absolutely.
We're going to go out to another school. We're going to go to Atkinson Elementary. We're still going out to the West Coast out there in California. So our folks there at Atkinson, go ahead and unmute your microphone, have a student step up, state their name, and then go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, my name is Julian, and my question is, what gave you the commitment to start football and keep going?
So the commitment to keep going.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's a great question. Great question. And commitment for me started pretty early on, and I've committed to sports. I wanted to play some kind of sport, and basketball was my first sport. It was one of those sports that, you know, it really helped me with my agility, quickness, and all that. In football, I was on the basketball court, and my high school football coach, he saw me on the basketball court playing basketball, you know, one evening and whatnot, and he asked me to come out for football. So he kind of encouraged me, and then he said, he thought I could be pretty good. And anyway, I did. I felt like I was committed to playing some kind of sport. I really wanted to play basketball, but football, you know, that could work too. So I was really committed to and trying to get a scholarship too as well and stuff, so I could have a way to go to school. Football was a great way to do it, and it worked out well for me.
You know, enjoying playing multiple sports, being a multi-sport athlete, how did playing other sports like basketball, you mentioned your agility, help you become a better football player, or vice versa? How did football help you in the sport of basketball?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important questions you can ask me. As far as I was concerned, basketball really helped me as a football player because it helped me with my footwork, with my quickness, you know, pushing against people, getting the feel for it. And so when I got on the football field, my footwork I felt was pretty good, my quickness, and that sort of thing. And I got most of that from basketball, and I learned how to, you know, I could lean on someone, and with football you lean on them, and I could get there. I learned how early on to read people and that sort of thing, to get where their body, you know, where their weakness was. If I was coming off and they were really fighting real hard to go that way, you could take them that way, all those kind of things and stuff. And kind of basketball was a sport that helped me with that.
Awesome. And I mentioned at the beginning what our mission statement is at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Honor the heroes of the game, like yourself, and truly any legend that played in the game. Because you know, I like to say that the game of football wouldn't be like it is today without anybody who had an influence, whether it be in the boardroom, the front office, or truly on the field. And what better way to showcase honoring those heroes by then preserving the history of our Hall of Famers in the game of football. So what we're going to do, special inside look at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm going to send it back to Canton, Ohio, to John Kendall. the Vice President of Archives, Education, and Football Information, who's got a live look in our 2D archives to talk a little bit about what he does, what the Hall of Fame does. I think he might have a question for you. So John, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Thanks, Jake. Dwight, always good to be with you, and thank you for all you've done for the game, but all you do for the Pro Football Hall of Fame and giving back to the community. Right now, we're standing in the Ralph Wilson Jr. Pro Football Research and Preservation Center, and this is where when we talk about that mission to honor the heroes of the game, preserve its history, promote its values, and celebrate excellence together, this is really at the core of what we do in this archive. We're honoring the heroes of the game by preserving their legacies through their artifacts and their documents. And we're able to take those core values that we talk so much about, the commitment, integrity, courage, respect, honesty, and we're able to craft stories and tell their stories and showcase that the same values that made Dwight great on the football field are the same things that make him a great individual off the football field, and same things that make you a great student in the classroom, a great teacher, a great business leader. And we have over 40 million pages of documents, 6 million photographic images down in this archive that help us tell the story of the 354 individuals who have a bronze bust here in Canton, but also the over 27,000 players that have played the game at the professional level. And so we're able to craft those stories and disseminate those out to the rest of the world and showcase just exactly who these individuals were and what made them great. And so some of the things that we have down here, pretty much every book ever written on pro football history, a lot of them as they relate to the early origins of the game. We've got rule books. Our earliest rule book goes back to 1866. This one I got out to show you today is 1892, a very significant year in pro football's history. That was when the first player, William Heffelfinger, they called him Pudge, was paid $500 to play one game for the Allegheny Athletic Association on November 12th, 1892. We've also got over 55,000 game programs in our collection, from pro football related game programs from the World War II era to one of these college football programs that we have from 1880, the first ever college football championship game program, Princeton versus Yale. You see Walter Camp, who wrote this book here, American Football, was not the founder of American football, but a lot of people will refer to him as the father of American football because he started to implement rules that changed it from English and American rugby into American football we know today. The line of scrimmage, the 4-down system to get a first down, took players from 15 on each side of the ball in English and American rugby down to 11 that we know in American football. Over here, we have some stuff related specific to your career, Dwight. Huge photo archive here. Like I said, over 6 million photographic images. These are just a few shots from your playing career, as well as from your Hall of Fame induction. And then I've got something special over here. These are notebooks from Coach Don Shula. I know he was probably very impactful in your career and in your life. But Don Shula's notebooks, he donated his entire collection to us a few years back. These are from the 1985 season. And really, going through these types of archives, you can really get a sense of who these individuals were and really what made them so special. You can see his meeting agenda here from a game in preseason of 1985. But you guys started early, and I'm sure you worked hard. But one of the questions that I had for you is, a lot of individuals, see you now with a bronze bust here in Canton and think, Dwight, he must have rolled out of bed great. And I'm sure you can tell the stories, and we all know that just isn't the case. And being a second round pick in 1980, going back through your story, you didn't even start at center until almost midway through your second season. And so, can you kind of just explain the work that it took you once you made it to the NFL, the work that it took you to get on the starting lineup, and keeping your confidence level high through that when you weren't starting, to be ready when you did get that starting opportunity to shine the way that you did.
And thanks, and I appreciate that. You do when you come into the National Football League. I mean, you really have experience is a big deal. Talent, you can have talent and stuff, but experience is a big deal. And at that point, I felt as though I was my first year. I wanted to start, and I wanted to start very, very badly and stuff. And some of the other guys that had come in the league at the same time I did, and they had started. They were starting or playing or contributing. And my first year, I didn't do anything. I pretty much was on the on special teams. And but I was trying to do the best job I could. Any kind of way I could get on the field, I wanted to do it. I wanted to show Coach Schuler that I wanted to be here as a player, as a Miami Dolphin. And so went through the first year. The second year, again, I was working hard and not giving up, and felt good about some of the things I was doing, but still I hadn't broken into that starting lineup. But they started to kind of bring me in where I would with the right guard here, Bob Kujaberg, they would take him out of the game, and that me in passing situation, I would come in and be a pass protector, and for them, for the Dolphins. And then halfway, a little bit longer during the season, got to the point where the guy that was starting at center, Mark Denard, great guy, doing a great job, he was hurt. He got hurt, and that's how I got into the starting lineup. And once I got in there, I was able to hold on to the position and stuff. So, but I couldn't give up. I had to hang in there. I had to fight. I had to continue to be positive. I can't go around and get mad with Coach Schuler or anything like that, because Coach Schuler wants to put the winning product or team out there on the field is going to win, and he felt that Mark Denard gave him the best chance to win. And later on, when I was able to get in there, I felt as though he felt really good about me. And then Mark Denard was able. I continued to be the starting center for the Miami Dolphins when he came back. So,
thanks, Dwight. Once again, appreciate all you do for the Hall, and look forward to seeing you back here in Canton soon.
We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, John. And just to let you guys know, not everybody that goes to the Hall of Fame, in fact, nobody that goes to the Hall of Fame without special permission gets to see what you guys just saw there. So that truly is a behind-the-scenes look at what we're doing at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And you saw some pictures in there, reminisce a little bit from your enshrinement. Yep. What was that feeling like? Let's start when you first found out you were going to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. What happened? What was the day like? And what was the feeling after you got that notification that, hey, I'm a Hall of Famer now?
You got to understand me. When I started playing football and then go to college and come into the pros, Hall of Fame never entered my mind as a possibility. I wanted to be the best football player I could be. And even though I thought I'd be the best football player, if I could be the best football player I could be, I never really thought about the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame was something that was so far out there that I never thought about as a possibility. When I was elected to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that was probably the most emotional time for me, because, I mean, you're talking out of 27,000 people or 26,000 people playing the game, like maybe at that time it was only like 150 people elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then to be one of those guys, it was just something that I never thought possible. And it was just a great, great time for me. First thing I wanted to do was call my mother and my father and them and let them know, and my family. It was just something that was still is emotional for me and stuff, because it's just it's an awesome honor. And when I don't know if anybody comes in the National Football League and say, I want to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That might be one of the goals. Maybe they'll say that, or maybe say they want to be the best player there be. But it's such a lofty, it's a huge honor, and just a very special one for me. I appreciate it.
Well, what does it mean to come back to Canton? We always say Canton's your second home. Your bronze bust is going to live there for 40,000 plus years.
Right.
What's it mean for you to come back and celebrate not only your enshrinement, but all the new Hall of Famers when they're enshrined?
Right. I mean, going back to Canton, it's like the birthplace of pro football, and then where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is. It's like going home. It really is. It's like a second home. I mean, the people treat us great. I mean, it's a fabulous week. They bring us in, and we're able to get together amongst, with players guys that I played with, and then guys that, and it's great to me because I get to meet some of the guys that were like my heroes when I was coming up, like Carl Eller, Alan Page, those guys that played for the Minnesota Vikings and other guys. It's great to go back and, like I said, meet some of the former players as well as some of the current players or players that are just getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and see how the game has changed, and see all the other things that are involved with technology and everything that's involved with the game today. I mean, it's a great time, place to go back to Canton, Ohio.
Awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate it. I will speak on behalf of the entire city and say we love when all of our Hall of Famers come back to celebrate in August.
Well, thank you.
We're going to go back out to one of our schools now. We're going to go out to Dempsey Middle School for our next question. So our students there at Dempsey, go ahead, step up to the microphone, unmute yourself, state your name, and then go ahead and ask your question for Mr. Stephenson.
Is football the only sport that you ever played, or did you play other sports?
So is football the only sport you ever? We talked about playing basketball, but outside of football and basketball, is there anything else that you did growing up?
You know, I wanted to play sports, and I thought I'd be able to play baseball or something like that. And I tried baseball, but it really didn't fit me well. And then I also had to go to work. I worked at a store growing up when I was coming up, and so I played basketball and I played football. Those are the two sports that I played, and it worked out well for me. And so I would like to play baseball or ran track, but neither one of them really worked out for me.
All right, we got a question now from one of our view-only groups. This is Tulare Union High School. They said throughout they did some research.
Yeah.
They said that Paul Bear Bryant said you're the best center he has ever coached.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel coming from a legend like Mr. Bryant?
That makes me feel awesome because, for him to say something like that, he's not a guy that I feel that just throws words around and that sort of thing. It really means something. And for him to say that I was the best center that he ever coached meant a whole lot to me, because there were some great centers that played at the University of Alabama before me. And guys like Sylvester Croom and Terry Jones and some other guys that played the center position. But then for Coach Bryant to say something like that, that's an honor for me. So I appreciate it. And then again, I felt I played for the greatest college coach there is, and it was a great thing for me.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna go back out to one of our schools. We're now gonna go to Cherry Field Elementary, and when I say we're all across the country, truly from California, now we're going to Maine. Okay. So we are reaching both ends of the U.S. here. So our folks there at Cherry Field, go ahead and step up to the microphone, unmute it, state your name, and then go ahead and ask your question.
My name is Carson. I'm in 7th grade, and my question was, what do you do for hobbies?
What do you do for hobbies? No, retired, out of the game. We know you have a pretty successful business down here, but what are some of your hobbies you like to do in your free time?
Right now my hobby pretty much is my business, and we're in the construction business, so I spend a lot of time doing that. But like you say, you got to have a hobby or some other kind of way to release tension and stuff. And so the other thing that I probably do is I play golf. I'm not any good at it, but I like golf, and there's a lot of room for me to improve. So I need to really focus on that at some point. And see, can I become a pretty good golfer for myself and enjoy the game.
And it's important, I think, to find those hobbies and find those things you're passionate about, and not just for a Hall of Famer, but for anybody, outside of their schooling or things they like to do. You mentioned you got into construction.
Right.
We talked about how you learn values of the game and you apply them to their lives. How do you take the game of football and things you learn and apply that to a very successful business career after your playing time was over?
It's just like, the things in football, you want to be the best player that you can be, the best, be on the best team. You want to win championships. And that's what we do in the construction business. I want to be on the best construction team. I want to be the best construction guy that I can be. I want to do a job for someone. And I want them to say, hey, man, Dwight Stephenson, my company did the job for them and did a great job for them. That's important to me. I want to be the best that I could be. And I want my company and I want people around me that also feel that way.
I got another question from one of our view-only schools. This is from another class at Atkinson Elementary. This is Miss Rovito's class. Now, if you guys did your research, you saw that, you only played 8 NFL seasons. Really only started 7 from what we've learned at the beginning.
Yeah.
Very bad knee injury. Do you feel, or how long do you felt like you could have played if you didn't have the bad injury?
I tell you, I felt like at that point, I probably could have played about 4 or 5 more years. I really wanted to get to right around 13 years, 14, and I felt like I could play that way, played that many years. Health-wise, I felt good. I felt as though I was doing pretty good physically and stuff. So, and would have continued to. I didn't feel as though my game had fallen off or anything. So, I was hoping to play about 4 or 5 more years.
Great question. Now, it's doing some more research. Even though you played such a short, we say short, and truly it's not short. 8 years is a long time.
Right.
But Tom Brady's out here playing until he's 45 years old, 20 some years in the league.
Yeah.
But Pro Football Focus, which does a lot of cool things for the game of football,
Mhm.
they give out an award each year for the best player in the game, and it is named after you. What does that mean to you and your career?
Those are the kind of things, again, you never think possible. You never think possible, and when they happen, it's just a great, great feeling. Like I said, that award right there is something that it's great, and for me to have my name on it is awesome. So just awesome.
All right, we're gonna go back to some of our schools. We're going out to Grand Valley Middle School for our next question. So our students there at Grand Valley, go ahead and step up to the microphone, state your name, and then go ahead and ask your question. Now I can't see your camera, so I don't know if you're up there or not. But if I got it. Looks like they don't have access to a microphone. I was able to see that chat there at the bottom. So that's technology. That's what we got to do. In talking, you mentioned, people think Miami Dolphins, automatically the person they think of is Dan Marino.
Right, sure.
And being a teammate of his or seeing his production on the field, how long did it take you to realize, like, this guy's got what it takes and he's going to be an excellent player in the league?
Well, I tell you, and again, it's a great question. Dan Marino was probably, 2 things when it comes, just a great teammate. He's one of the hardest working guys that I ever played with and been around. But he's also a guy that's, he's committed. He wanted to be the best player. He wants people around him that are committed. When he says he's going to do something, and Dan said, he goes out with all his power and effort and try to get it done. We go into games and we're behind at the end of the game or something like that. And you go in the huddle and I feel pretty good because I'm like, I got some pretty good wide receivers and I got Dan Marino. And I really feel as though if we give Dan protection, that we can go down the field and we can go ahead and score a touchdown and go ahead and win the game. That's the feeling that he would give you when he came into the huddle. And just a great individual, a special guy. And early on when he first got there, I knew that he was going to be a pretty good football player. But to do the things that he's done is just unbelievable.
Now we look at the layout of the NFL today. We're in the midst of the playoffs, and we'll get your thoughts on that here before we wrap up.
Right.
But you look and it's also award season. You're talking about MVPs, Rookie of the Years. But the big one that kind of sticks out is not even your award for what you do on the field, it's what you do off the field. The Walter Payton Man of the Year, formerly known as the Man of the Year, which is an award that you won back in the 80s. What did it mean for you to win that award for your impact on what you're doing off the field in the community?
Right. That's an award that they give you for what you do on the field, but more importantly, what you do off the field. And I learned early on, my mother and father, we always been doing things in the community, raising funds or helping out, with different causes in the community and stuff. But when I came down to Miami, so the same thing. And Coach Schuler and the community, they kind of encouraged us to do that. And I thought it was a good thing. And I got involved with the United Cerebral Palsy, and that's a great organization. And we have raised funds and monies and stuff to help kids that were in need. And so this award right here is a very special award. It's given to one person, and it's for what you do on the field. But like I said, more important, what you do off the field. And so it's more important that you represent the community. It's good that you give back to the community. You want the community to come out and support us. We want you to support us as a fan and whatnot. And it's important that we give back too as players and stuff. So it's a great way to show the fans, show the community that you appreciate it.
Now, a lot of your teammates in the Hall of Fame have won that award.
Right.
So it is very important. And you asked that question, what was the most important award, whether it be Super Bowls or Hall of Fame? A lot of the answer is that award right there because of the impact that it's shown. That's going to last a lifetime.
It is. I mean, to be the single player in the National Football League as the player that, to win the Walter Payton Man of the Year award is really a special thing. And again, I congratulate, I'm not sure who's going to win it this year, but it's a very, very special award. And we all in the National Football League look at that award as a special award.
Your teammate LaDainian Tomlinson, there's a video where he talks about his award. He says, his on the field success will be remembered, but eventually it's going to fade away.
Right.
But that impact that he had in the community, that lasts a lifetime. So the award does mean a whole lot to those.
It does. And you have people, it's a great feeling when someone you need to say, oh, well, we've done bad computers for kids and someone maybe 4 or 5 years later say, oh, you guys did your charity or our foundation helped them out and stuff. It's a great, great feeling and stuff. And, I say it's a very special award.
Now, we've shown everybody here so far today kind of behind the scenes look at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, things not every visitor gets to see. But what we're going to show you now is an area that pretty much everybody who comes to Canton, Ohio, visits the Hall of Fame, wants to go see, and that's our Hall of Fame gallery, where right now there are 354 bronze busts on display, signifying all of our Hall of Famers that they're a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I'm going to throw it to Nathan Martin, like we said, the Youth and Education Coordinator at the Hall of Fame, and he's in our Hall of Fame gallery in front of a bronze bust that probably looks very familiar to you. So Nathan, Go ahead.
Yeah, Jake, thank you so much for sending it out here. And like he was telling you guys, I'm standing in the Pro Football Hall of Fame gallery, surrounded by all these great bronze busts. And right there is Mr. Dwight Stephenson's bronze bust. Pretty good looking guy right there.
Thank you.
It's supposed to last 40,000 years, they say. So people get to see that for a really, really long time. But to kind of put it in perspective about how special it is to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. John Kendall was touching on it a little bit, but in the history of the game, there have been over 300 million people that have played the game of football at all levels. We're talking Pop Warner, middle school, high school. Over 300 million people have played. Only 5 million were good enough to go play the game in college, the way that you did at Alabama for Paul Bear Bryant. Of that 5 million that played the game, in college, only just under 30,000 players have played the game professionally. And we're talking there's only 354 Pro Football Hall of Famers, you being one of them, Mr. Stephenson. So it's a pretty special group to be a part of. And I was sitting here, I was like, oh, what question can I ask him? I'm surrounded by all these bronze busts. And it came to me, I'm looking at Coach Shula's actually over my other shoulder over here. And Jake was asking about playing with Dan Marino. So you had some Hall of Famers that you got to spend some time with during your career, but who's that Hall of Famer, that gold jacket that you didn't play with, that you look back and you're like, man, it would have been really, really cool to be on this guy's team or have this guy come play with us for the Miami Dolphins? I'm looking at your class right here. Anthony Munoz, Mike Singletary. I mean, there's some really big names in here that if they'd been on that Dolphins team, you guys could have been, even better. So who's that guy that you're like, man, I wish we could have played on the same team together?
Who we could have played, it's the guys in the National Football League or in the Hall of Fame that I said, man, it would have really been cool to play with them. He's a little bit before I played, but I mean, Carl Eller was the guy that, defensive end from the Minnesota Vikings. That was my guy. He's the guy that if fourth down and they need to sack the quarterback, he was the guy that would come out and do it and stuff. And so I thought that would have been I think it would have been pretty cool to play with Carl Eller. Just a great defensive end and a great individual and stuff. So that's my answer.
Yeah, that's a great answer. For sure would have increased the level of play on the defensive line. Anytime you can add a Hall of Famer to your defensive line, it's going to get a little bit better. So that would have been really cool. I guess we can dream about it in fantasy, or maybe we can get the sticks out and go play Madden and get you guys on the same team or something on a Legends team. So, Mr. Stephenson, thank you so much for being a part of the program. And thank you for all you do for the game of football and the Hall of Fame. I'm going to send it back to Jake to kind of get a couple more questions here before we wrap the program.
All right, thanks, Nathan. I'm glad you brought up Madden. We look at Madden as a video game.
Yeah.
But for someone, that maybe not have been in the game,
right?
But you see it played and you see the popularity. We know Coach Madden just passed away, and how much impact he had on kind of everyone talks about like the three generations. You had his coach generation, you had his broadcasting career,
Right.
and then you have the video game that I'm sure all these kids sitting here today know about. How important is that game to the future generations that are going to be stars in football?
I mean, technology and stuff was not as big, or it wasn't around as big when I played in the 80s and stuff. Now technology is an important part of it. I mean, the games, and all that, and then what John Madden has done. That's just awesome. It's ways that also he brings the former players back, make us relevant again, and that sort of thing. So I think that's pretty cool and stuff. And so if you do the Madden game, if you choose Dwight Stephenson as one of the players, that'd be cool. But but John Madden, what he did for the game as a coach, and as he made the game better. He promoted the football life. He was a great individual, and then, like I said, the technology and stuff that's involved with it, now is great. It's here. You got to embrace it and incorporate it in the game some kind of way.
Now let's look at the NFL today. Obviously, we're approaching the exciting. Not that the rest of the season isn't exciting.
Yeah.
But we're at the almost at the peak of it now, headed towards the Super Bowl. You look at players in the NFL today. Is there someone that stands out to you that either plays your position or offensive line that you can either see a little bit of yourself in, or just really, really like the way that person plays the game?
I can't think of anyone right now, offensive line wise, that plays similar to the way I did. I mean, there's some guys that I watch now that, yes, I'm absolutely amazed at, guy, and I'm sure everybody else is too. Aaron Donald is just an amazing player to me, and I'm like, some kind of way you got to be able to, as an offensive lineman, you got to be able to beat him. And I don't know if you get on real quick, if you step back, but it's a way. Nobody's invincible, and I always felt that was kind of my way of psyching myself out whenever I was playing against someone. There's a weakness in some kind of way. I'll find it. Whether it's using my quickness, using my strength, my experience. You got to be able to some kind of way still win and be competitive.
Looking at the teams we got left, we got 4 on each side as we get closer and closer to the Super Bowl. Can we get a prediction? Or who are you looking at right now that you think is going to be hoisting that Lombardi Trophy up here in a few weeks?
I tell you what, it's been great games and stuff. And I'm an AFC East guy. I mean, I'd like to see somebody from our division win. It'd be nice if Buffalo did it. I'm not quite sure if they got it all together. But again, if I had to choose one and put my money somewhere or whatever, I'd probably go with Kansas City and Mahomes and that team. They got a lot there and stuff. So I know last year things didn't go well for them in the Super Bowl, but I think those guys are real good football team.
I'm sure that's a very popular choice among people right now. I got another question here from Grand Valley. It's one of our view only. This is Mr. P's class. Very simple question.
Sure.
Why did you wear number 57?
The reason I wore number 57, I'm glad I did. But the first when I was in high school, I wore number 55. And when I came to the University of Alabama, someone already had that number. So Coach Brian gave me number 57, and I stuck with me and played with it all through my college career as well as my pro career. So it worked out well, and I like 57, so works out well for me.
Now, as we are getting to the Super Bowl, you played in 2.
Yep.
Unfortunately, didn't come out on top of either one of those. But looking at the game itself, for those 2 teams that are going to be playing in it, if you could sit down and talk to those 2 teams to tell them about the experience it's going to be for those players who had never been, what is that experience like, and what would your advice to them to be, to kind of soak it all in and enjoy the whole experience?
Yeah, I think that I would try to explain to them how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl, how it's not easy. You got a lot of things to overcome. You have injuries. You have to having a bad game, or a lot of things you have to overcome in order to get there and stuff. And then you have to work at being really good and stuff. So, and once you get there and stuff, don't take it for granted. I mean, it's a great opportunity. But once the game starts, I mean, it's a regular game. I mean, you don't get overwhelmed by the game. But I want that person, or I would tell the team, that they really have to appreciate being here and don't take it for granted that, you know, you'll go back to a Super Bowl next year or the year after. You've got to make the most of that situation, because I thought I would go back to a couple more Super Bowls, went to 2 fairly early. And I said, well, you know, I felt though I would go back. And before I know it, you know, I'm out the league because of an injury. And that may not be because of the injury. You may not just be good. I mean, as a team, you may not just be good enough to get back there. Do not take it for granted. It's a great opportunity to be Super Bowl champs, and go for it.
All right, a couple more questions before we wrap up here. We obviously see, you know, you got the Hager gold jacket on that all of our Hall of Famers get. You've got the K Jewelers Ring of Excellence probably at home in a fancy box.
I do.
You got the bronze bust. So we know you're on the field success, but looking at your life as a whole, what are you most proud of looking back on things that you did throughout your life?
Probably, you know, looking back on my life, things that I'm most proud of probably is, I mean, I'm proud of my family. I've had great family, you know, my mother and father, sisters and brothers, you know, they've been great and still are. You know, but the family that I have now and stuff, my kids, I mean, I'm proud of them and what they're doing. They're doing well, and a couple of them, they have their own family now. So I think as an individual, you know, being a good person and trying to have good people around me and my kids and stuff, and them being good people too as well and stuff. So.
All right, as we wrap up today, first off, before we ask our last question, I again want to thank you for being a part of this program today and taking time out of your day to come up to the high school and be a part today and speak to these students.
Well, it's great. I mean, to be here at Dwyer High School down in South Florida here, you guys won the championship. I'm looking at all the banners back there. You guys and young ladies have done a good job and stuff, and I hope you keep it going. And I appreciate Principal Corey Brooks. I appreciate him giving us the opportunity to be here today, and the rest and his staff. And I know you guys, I guess basketball season, you might have the playoffs going on there. We wish you guys well as everyone else out there in TV land and stuff. But you just be the best you can be and stuff. Work at it and stuff, and you'll do fine.
All right, last question today, and that little piece right there was great. We've talked about so much other stuff on the field, off the field. But if all these students could walk away and remember one thing, all the students we have tuned in via Zoom, Facebook Live, what's one thing you want them to take away from today and remember and apply to their lives?
I mean, you probably heard it. It's simple. I just say, be the best person you could be the best you could be. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't be the best or you can't do something. You know, if that was the case, most guys you see in the Hall of Fame wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, because we've all had people tell us probably that we couldn't do something. Someone people told me that I couldn't do things, but God has blessed me, and I continue to move forward. You can be what you want to be. Work at it. Be willing to make the sacrifice, and you'll get there. So.
All right. With that, we're going to wrap up this latest installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Networks, with Hall of Famer, class of 1998 inductee, Mr. Dwight Stephenson. Everybody, let's give him one last round of applause.
All right. You're the best.
Mr. Stephenson, again, thank you for everything you've done for the game of football, everything you continue to do for us and can at the Hall of Fame. To Dwyer, all of our students here, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your school day, letting us come into your school. All of our students who tuned in via Zoom or Facebook, thank you guys so much. And we hope to see you tune in for another program that we do here during the remainder of the school year. So myself, Mr. Stephenson, all of our staff back at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Let's give Mr. Stephenson one last round of applause.